Hi everyone, welcome again to Bake Your Way Kitchen. On today's episode we are going to be making espresso it's not espresso brownies, those would be good. I did that previously. But no, today we're going to be doing espresso cookies. And it's very good, very delicious, very easy to make. And I'll take you over the ingredients to get started. What I've got here is I've got 1 cup, 130 grams of flour. I've got some ground almonds, and this is I used about 140 grams of whole almonds, and I just put them in a food processor till they were finely ground. I've got right here 1.5 tablespoons of 1.5 tablespoons of espresso powder, and with about 2.5–3 teaspoons of water, and just mix that together. Here is some grounded up chocolate, and I know it seems a little odd. I decided I was too lazy to actually cut the chocolate very finely, so I just put it in the food processor, the same one that I use the almonds. That's why it looks a bit thicker, but you'll need about 1 ounce, 28 grams. I've got half a cup of unsalted butter, which is 113 grams, and I've got, this is optional, I've got half a tablespoon of coffee extract. Now you could use vanilla extract or you could just leave it out. And here I've got about 3 tablespoons, close to 40 grams of granulated sugar. So this is a very easy put together recipe. So we got the dry ingredients, so we basically put it all in one bowl. Okay, and we're just going to quickly blend this together. And this is a very unique recipe. They're not going to rise too much because we're not putting any baking powder or baking soda in this cookie at all. It's a very unique cookie, I must say. I've only made it a few times, but it is a favorite of mine, and it is quite unique. So that's pretty much it. Now we'll go on to the wet ingredients. So the first thing we will do is take our unsalted butter and, whoops, sorry, something was going off there. So I'll put my butter in here, and it should be softened at room temperature. Now as you can see, it's a little more than softened in this case. I was using cold hard butter, and I put it in the microwave a little long. The only thing that will result by having it too soft is that the cookie will be more thin and spread out more, which is not the end of the world for me. I like to have a nice, thin, big cookie. So then we're also going to add in our sugar, and we're just going to mix this till it's well combined. Very simple. Not a lot of creaming needed for this case because the butter was already so soft. As you can see, it's pretty much already all incorporated. Now I'm going to add in the coffee extract and espresso mixture we got. This will be a very, you have to be a fan of coffee for this. If you're not, then well, this might not be your favorite dessert. But for all the coffee lovers out there, and all the maybe late-nighters, I should say, you will like this. Now, don't be concerned. You'll notice that there's a lot of liquid here, and the wet mixture is kind of separating. That's completely normal. As soon as we add in our dry ingredients, that will change. The other thing about this recipe that makes it really unique is that there's no eggs. There's no eggs. No salt, no baking soda, no baking powder, a little bit of flour. Usually most cookie recipes are at least 2. So that's very unique. So this is what you should end up with. Now all we're going to do is add in our dry mixture and basically mix this all together. And while you're doing that, you can set your oven to about, I would say, 325 degrees, so that would be about 165 degrees Celsius. And so we're just going to mix this in until all combined. And this is it's a thicker cookie batter, but it's quite good. There we go. it's the perfect combination of the espresso and the chocolate and nutty flavor. And as you can see, like, we already have our dough together. Now all we'll need to do is prepare it. This makes a relatively small batch, a couple dozen small cookies or maybe about a dozen large cookies. So this is pretty much all combined. We don't want to overmix it more than that because we don't want a tough cookie. So now I'm going to go ahead and get a prepared baking tray, and we will assemble and put them in the oven. I have a cookie tray with a piece of parchment paper on. Oops. So I have a cookie sheet with a piece of parchment paper, and I've got a cookie scoop, but you can just use two regular spoons or just your hands. This is probably about 1.5 teaspoon measure. It's kind of just an average size. I'm not making them too big. I usually, for my oatmeal and chocolate chip cookie recipes, I usually like to make giant cookies, so I usually use like a 1/4 cup scoop. But for these, we'll just do that size, which is, quite frankly, the size of what normal cookies should be. Depending on the size scoop you use and how compact you add in your dough, it really will depend how many this will make. Leave a bit of room because these will spread, and yeah, I probably won't be able to get this all on our first batch, but definitely should work it with 2. Oh man, I tell you, I'm doing this and I'm smelling the espresso. I'm smelling the coffee. It's amazing, and it's a combination of those espresso granules with the water and the coffee extract. And let me tell you, coffee extract is good. I didn't even know that there was coffee extract until recently, but it really does. If you like coffee in your recipe, if you like coffee desserts, it really brings out that nice coffee flavor. So I'm just going to continue to go ahead and spread these out, and I'll show you what that looks like before I put it in the oven. Alright, so as you can see, I got my cookies here. I have 6 extra cookies here, so it made a total of 18 for the 1.5 tablespoon scoop that I used. So before we put this in as kind of like a garnish, or this is an optional step, if it wasn't nutty enough for you, I'm just going to add a pecan on the top of each one. You can just press it in. It doesn't need to be firmly. You don't need to pat down the dough too much. It'll spread a little bit, but you can let it do its job there. These are great with tea, with coffee, just as an afternoon or evening kind of light dessert with just a small cookie with a tea or something is great, or with some fruit. Alright, so we got our cookies here, so these are going to go into our 325 degree oven for somewhere around 10 minutes, maybe up to 15. You just want it to develop a little bit of color and obviously be kind of spread a little bit. I'll show you what it looks like once it's done. Wow, there they are. Don't those look incredible? I'm prepared this time. I'm not going to put it directly on the surface as I always do. This time I'll do it differently. So these, I gotta say, before I say anything, The room smells amazing. That's the thing about when you make these cookies, your whole house will smell like a chocolatey coffee goodness. And it's very, very good. What I've got here is some confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar, and cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder, and I just gave it a little mix. So what you're going to want to do now is let these cool on the pan for a few minutes, then transfer them to a wire rack or somewhere to cool. And then once they've cooled down, then you dust it with, dust it with the cocoa powder and confectioner's sugar. Obviously that's an added garnish kind of to make it look all fancy, but that's not critical. So that's basically it. You can serve this with ice cream or just with a tea or coffee, as I mentioned earlier. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bake the rest of these. I'll show you what the final product looks like when they do cool down. Then I'll add the topping, and that's pretty much it. It's a very delicious recipe, as you can see, very easy, very not much flour involved, no eggs, and it's just a great, easy recipe, and it's something unique and different that I think everyone will enjoy.